Hey there, I've got a special bonus episode for you this week. We're checking back in with Sarahjane West Watson, who I've had on the podcast several times. She's one of my very favorite coaching clients. We've been working together for years, and she's launching her new program. And I wanted to share some of the secrets to what she's been doing lately. So enjoy this bonus episode and make sure you sign up with her if she can help you out.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here is your host, Julie Hood.
Oh, so thrilled for today's episode. Guess who we have back? The incredible Sarahjane West Watson. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, we know you may have heard previous episodes that we've done together, because we've been working together for years now, and so much fun stuff because she is so knowledgeable about pelvic floor and your core and all of those female things. And I have to tell everybody this because I think this is really important that you know. I spent 30 minutes talking to you about my core, and I learned more in those 30 minutes than I have learned in 30 years with the doctors. So Sarahjane, thank you for being here. I so appreciate you coming back to chat with us. So thanks for coming on the show again.
Oh, an absolute privilege. Thank you so much for having me. And delighted to have helped. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So I do make it my mission in life to try and clarify the confusion and get people doing the right thing for them.
Right? Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe how many things that you were able to clear up for me. I'm like, oh, that's how that works. Okay, that makes sense. So
it's been a while. It's been a long time when you said that. It has been many years.
I know. It's amazing how fast it goes. So I will put the links in the show notes if y'all want to go back and hear the transformation and kind of how things have flowed. But the first thing I really want to talk about, and we've got so many good things. Before the recording started, we were talking about all the fun things that we want to share with you guys. But the first thing I want to make sure everybody hears is your new 6-week. Well, it's not new, but you're relaunching your 6-week Transform Your Core and Pelvic Floor course. And I hope everybody that's into all the females who are trying to figure out what all is going on, we'll jump in on this with you. So tell us a little bit about it, so that if folks are wondering, like, what is that? Why would I need it? And go from there. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is my signature program that I think working with you, way back is what I've really been working with and helping devising from the outset. So it's kind of my signature program, and I only launch it a maximum of 3 times a year. And I'm only going to be doing it twice this year. But so it's a 6-week program where I literally handhold you through 3 online classes a week for 6 weeks, taking you from what I kind of call ground zero. So literally getting you to understand what the muscles are, what your core is, how to activate them. And then as we progress through the 6 weeks, it's understanding how that integrates with your breath, how that integrates with your pelvic tilt, with your spine, with your hips, with your knees, with your ankles, and gets you really strong in your pelvic floor and your core, because ultimately your pelvic floor underpins literally your core through that whole 6-week journey. So we start off literally playing with the relationship between the breath and the diaphragm and the pelvic floor. And then we build up into body weight exercise, which we now know is the best way to get your core and your pelvic floor strong. We do cardio sessions, so you feel, okay, I can work out, there's my core working as I'm walking, so that you don't just think, oh, here's me doing an exercise class, but what happens in the real world when you go and run for a bus, or suddenly asked to go on the trampoline with the kids, you understand how to get everything going. So yeah, I'm delighted. We're getting another cohort of really wonderful women. So I've got everyone from my postnatal new mums who might be suffering minor prolapse, or just really feeling that they want to do that whole postnatal restoration bit, or they're suffering from abdominal separation. And then I've got my other very, very special cohort where I have a lot of peri and postmenopausal women who are just feeling, oh my gosh, everything has really shifted. And that's where there's often a real opportunity to reconnect back with, okay, this is my body again. This is how I can feel in control. And it's just an amazing journey. And I've added in, again, Julie supported me through this. We're adding in 3 extra bonus workshops this September. Because I know the program delivers. It delivers you the core strengths. I was like, right, how can I improve on something that I know kind of delivers results? And we came up with this concept of this getting actually stuck in mentally, getting your mojo to stick with the 6 weeks. So we've got our first workshop is kind of getting your head in the right place to go, like, to help the body then get there. So I'm kind of planning how it's going to work for you and getting you come from that whole, I know I need to do something, to actually, right, this is my plan. This is what we're going to do. This is going to help. We're going to make 6 weeks work. And then we're going to have second workshop mid 6 weeks is we're going to do a real deep dive into symptoms. So prolapse symptoms, pelvic floor weakness, maybe urge incontinence. I've got a couple of hypermobile ladies who are already enrolled. So we're going to deep dive into those issues. And then we're going to wrap up the end of the program with right, how can we maintain it going forward? So how can you integrate this whole core strength into your daily routine without necessarily adding to a whole load of extra classes into it as well? So it's really exciting.
Oh, I'm so thrilled for you. And I have to say, y'all are getting such a special deal. Sarahjane agreed to give my listeners half off. So you're going to get in for 50% off. It's only going to be $149 for all of this incredible. And if you compare this to what it costs to, like, go see the doctor once, let's just prevent all that. And that was one of the things I learned earlier in the year too, is, they talk about, oh, you need to exercise to be healthier, la, 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 la. That same message we hear over and over. When I messed up my back so badly, it took me out for an entire week. And I realized it's not just to be healthier, it's to just function, to 100%. Be able to move and walk around the house and sit down and all those basic movements. So I'm so thankful that you are doing this for folks, because we desperately need your help.
I know, it's fab. And what's really great is we've got when you say go to the doctor, also sometimes we forget that the GP or the physician is general. So it's nice this time. I've got a physio who's enrolled. I've got a doctor from the UK. So it's really nice that where they understand actually there's the gaps in the knowledge, and this is about really deep diving in. So yeah, so I'll drop a link and we'll do one through yourself. But anyone that goes to fitfannyadams.com/Julie Hood will get that 50% off.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. And I'll put the link in the show notes too, so y'all can follow up. So, okay. So let's rewind just a little bit. I went back to look. So it was January of 2021 when we first talked, and then July of 2022 when we next talked. And one of the big things that has kind of carried through is that you had, you're a mom of little ones, and they have grown now. So it's been a few years. So tell us how that's going, and kind of where you're at with the whole juggling momhood and motherhood.
And perimenopause, no brain.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's a juggle. So Fit Fanny Adams was founded 11 years ago after the birth of my son. So he's now 11 and just going to senior school over in the UK. And I also have a 5-year-old who's just going into year 1. So I've been really mindful in trying to create a business that works within the school hours. And it's, first of all, school hours are not long.
No.
And we think, like today. So today is the first day of the new term. And you think, right, you have this dream of this long, lengthy day. And it's like, bang, just get a few things off the to-do list. And then it's going to be pickup time in a minute.
So do you have to do the drive and take them to school and then also pick them up too? So
Yeah, well, I'm quite fortunate, and I work at how so I know understand my body clock and how that works, and I'm way better in the morning. So I actually invest in breakfast club for them, and one goes on the school bus. So I managed to do the drop at breakfast clubs, so that I'm back here ready to work at 8:15, and then I can get, it's amazing that extra hour at the beginning of the day is a real game changer.
right.
Um, and then I finish and I have to leave by 3 to go and then do the pickup.
Gotcha. Well, and have you noticed a big shift since well, granted, it's first day for your daughter to be back in school, so it might be coming, but a big shift from, we call it preschool in the US, but to real school, and how much are you thinking you'll get a lot more time that way?
So I made a shout I'm bad mum moment of guilt, but no, it wasn't. It was I made a conscious decision that actually she really loved. So she was a COVID baby. And I made the decision that what she missed in COVID in terms of socialization, she just loves interacting. And I thought actually if she goes to after school club or the wraparound after her reduced hours in preschool, she loves it. She just is really sad when I pick her up and do boring stuff with mummy. So she's actually done kind of 4 days a week, what I call full time, but actually it's at 3 o'clock finish, since COVID. Because I think one of the things that I was feeling was I wasn't achieving not I wasn't achieving anything, but I was just constantly feeling like I was letting either her down trying to do a juggle of admin tasks and daily chores in that pickup time and not really doing my business. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna use that wraparound care and go back to do 4 days a week, which has now gone back up to 5 days a week now that she's in full time. And that was, I've got absolutely no regrets, because what happens is when I do pick up, I'm then mummy and I'm not trying to juggle work or anything. I'm proper mummy until they've gone to bed. And then I might do a bit of bits and bobs afterwards, but I'm sort of trying to be either 100% present in the business or 100%, yeah, family.
Good for you. And one of the things you said, I hope everybody caught, is you were paying attention to what she needed. So you noticed that she loves being around the other children. So you set that up for her. And I think
Yeah.
that's what makes the incredible moms, is the ones that are paying attention to that. It's not what you needed, not what you think she needed, but what she's telling you that she really wants. So good job, mom.
Yeah. No, it's so hard. And realizing that kind of chimp on your shoulder that's nagging at you when it's not working. And I think I've spent so many years trying to fit with a model and not realizing that your model it just constantly is changing and readjusting. And like at the moment now I'm trying to readjust for that time when suddenly the older one stays up later. So I've lost
Oh,
that little, that 7:30 till 8:30, 9 o'clock time that used to be mine. I'm kind of now going, right, how's this going to work? Because that was like regaining my time. And I think that's, one thing that can be really overwhelming for mums juggling business and for anyone, is thinking that we've got to fit into what everyone else is doing rather than what's working for you and your routine.
right, right. And maybe he has a half an hour of reading time at night or something in his room. So you get a few minutes.
Yeah, do you know what was really interesting? So I've been juggling this probably for about 6 months, finding it really hard. Um, and then I just told him about it. We were driving home the other night, and he's lovely, he's really lovely and caring. And I just said, you know what? I'm finding this a bit hard and sometimes a bit grumpy because I don't actually get that quiet time. He's like, well, do you know what I'd love to do? Is I love to read Summer's bedtime story, my daughter's bedtime. He said, I love to go back into the baby books. So why don't I give you half an hour back and I do that bedtime? And I
Oh,
just thought, oh, gorgeous. So she gets some quality big brother time. Not every day because he's out in clubs, but I thought why am I trying to juggle this in my own little brain when actually I've got I've got a team here that can work things out as well. So that was a bit of a aha moment.
Oh, that's so cool, Sarahjane. How many
Yeah.
big brothers are willing to? I mean,
Well,
seriously.
possibly more than we think.
I know. Oh, what an incredible boy you're raising there.
Yeah.
That's
Well, no, it'll
fantastic.
probably be all fights tonight, but
Well, the first day of school doesn't count. Everybody's exhausted, but it's a pizza night.
yeah, it is. But I think sometimes again we try and think we've got to get all of the solutions ourselves. Well, I'm really guilty of that, thinking that I've got to fix everything.
Right? I think that gets ingrained in us somewhere that we have to have all the answers, and
Yeah.
so good for you. That's fantastic. Well, and then I also want to hear about how the podcast is going, because you were starting that the last time we were talking, and I see you popping up all the time in my podcast app. So tell us about the podcast. How's that?
Oh, so that has been brilliant. And thank you. So you introduced me to, I think, the podcasting school, which was amazing. And I knew, so as I've had my guilty admission to you well, not recently, but most times that we've been speaking is I find it really hard to put pen to paper or to draft my emails. So I knew that the podcasting it fitted in more with how I work. And I've been able to set up that fortnightly, and a fortnightly routine has really worked for me. And I can remember before we even started, I had that conversation with yourself about, really honestly how long it takes to edit, to upload, to do the social media for it. And yeah, so I've committed every fortnight to have done that podcast, and I've loved it. And total again, hands up, is I haven't leveraged the ease at which I could have used that content from the email newsletter until more recently. But what it's done is it's enabled me to get out there to a different audience. And then again, more recently, I've really worked with you to sort myself out and get that weekly email letter out as well, which has been brilliant. And having that accountability has just been really, really helpful to kind of go, yeah, it needs to be fortnightly. It's out there as a fortnightly podcast. It has to be there.
I'm so glad you stuck with it, because you would not believe, I saw some incredible statistics on how many people try out podcasting and then they give up after a few episodes. So I'm so glad you're still doing it. And there is a whole new concept of how you connect with your folks, I think, through your podcast than other ways. Even social media videos and stuff, I don't think have the same connection that you get with a podcast. Would you agree?
100%. And I always, I'm a massive fan of Audible books, and I always think it's such an added bonus when you hear a book that's narrated by the author. You get such a different, deeper insight, and you just get a different level of connection. And yeah, you can fit so much more into a 15-minute podcast than you can into a quick email, because people won't read to the end or they'll miss massive chunks out. But I like the fact that, people understand they understand your tone, they understand so much more. But again, getting engagement it's an art into itself, as you were saying before, is understanding how to get engagement from a podcast is really different to social media, to email, and it takes time.
Right. And one of the things I think is really hard, and I'm curious where you land on this, like we put our podcast episodes out there, and maybe once in a while you get a review or something, but you don't really get, as the owner of the podcast, you don't get a lot of feedback. Like, I wonder if that landed, or I wonder what people thought. And
is there anyone out there?
I can see downloads are happening. That's a good sign.
But exactly. But then again, you sit there and what do those metrics mean? And it's because at the end of the day, if those metrics aren't turning into revenue, then is it a good use of time? But actually, I think what's been invaluable for me is it's built credibility.
Right.
And there's a different thing by saying, oh, do you know what? I sell products online, to actually going, do you know what? I've got a specialist podcast on the pelvic floor and the core. And then people are like, oh, wow, okay. And even just, I think that addition onto the signature and the email signature, it really lifts your credibility.
Yes.
So that's really, really, it's great. And you can just refer people back to different episodes. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize you had a podcast, so I'll have a listen. And it is really interesting that it is a very different, it's a very different audience.
So have you noticed what have you done to kind of pull people from the podcast and pull them over? Anything in particular?
So looking at the stats as to where my listeners are, so the majority of my podcast listeners are without a doubt in the US, which again, I think that is reflective of general podcast uptake. So then I've been tailoring my products, my online products, to the US dollars, which has been really, really helpful. And then changing things like the timings of when my emails are going out. We've been working on a way that we can make it happy for the UK and the US.
Where did you land on that timing? I know we talked about it. I'm just curious for other folks who are listening and that have the same kind of situation where they need to hit both audiences. And if you hit
rubbish. I've worked out about 2 p.m. London time, which I think then is around 9 a.m. Let me get this right. 9 a.m. Eastern.
Perfect.
And then it's would it be a little bit earlier for Pacific?
6 a.m.
Oh, the other way around.
Still morning, still morning. So yeah. As opposed to the middle of the night when they might miss it. Yeah.
And it's a bit later than I'd want for the UK, but actually what I tend to do is either a Friday or a Saturday. So it's less time critical.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that's working out. And thanks for sharing that, because I think this is an issue for a lot of folks, honestly, that are trying to hit both audiences, even the US folks, when I'm trying to work with my folks in the UK and trying to figure out what time to do things so that it makes sense for everyone. So thanks for sharing that with us.
But then the other thing that I've been doing, which again was from working with yourself, was when we've been creating the landing pages, rather than just necessarily having a unique link, saying pretty links that would be podcast specific, actually creating duplicate landing pages. And one would be podcast landing page, and one would be an email audience derived landing page. So you can really get those stats on that.
Yes, I love how you're segregating, because then you can track and see, like, did this work or did it not? So that's really good.
And again, the other thing that I absolutely love is the click reports in Kajabi. It's brilliant, and actually seeing who the people are that are clicking and which ones they are that are clicking on what links within. I found that level, because I think with yourself, I migrated out of MailChimp fully into Kajabi, and that has been really, really helpful. And I'm definitely finding that is more cost effective. But I just get so much more insight because I can see everything in that one platform.
Right. And you can see the history of individual people too. If you want to go see, like, when did they come on the list? What did they come on for? What have they clicked? Which emails do they like? Which programs are they checking out? If you really want to dig deep, you can get that level too.
Exactly. Lifetime revenue. It's really, I find it really insightful.
That's awesome. And I really want to make sure we talk about the waitlist technique that you've been using, because you got folks signed up early for your program from it. So kind of give us an overview of what you set up there and how that works, because I'm so excited.
So one of the things, one area that I struggle is having time off in the summer holidays. And I tend to kind of turn my business down in the summer holidays so I can be present. And we were working out, and I always get to sort of end of August in this mad panic that I launch a program in September, which works brilliantly for the kids going back to school, but a nightmare for the marketing. So when I was working with you on the coaching calls, we developed this strategy whereby I was going to create a wait list. So largely since July, I've been building a wait list. And I didn't even have any specifics on the course. I didn't have a start date. I didn't have a price. But I said, look, this is what's going to happen. If you're interested, jump on the wait list. You'll get the early bird rates as and when that information comes out. So it was brilliant. I was able to get a load of people on that wait list that I now know is an engaged audience that I can segment and nicely target with the marketing and the funnels through there, which has been really helpful.
Oh, I'm so glad you implemented that. And it was a pretty simple process for the folks, your email list, right? They could just click it and then click the link.
Oh, really simple. So I think I had it on the podcast and on email. They could just go to a simple URL link, and then that got them tagged in Kajabi. And so I can then just pull them out of Kajabi and have a whole automated little funnel on for those tags, which has been brilliant.
Yay. So everybody who's listening, remember that technique. And it has really taken off the last couple of years of the whole concept of doing a wait list. But I'm so glad you did it because it just fits the way you needed to market, which always is at the top of my list. Like what do we need to do that's going to work for you and the way you work and the way you like to communicate? So I know another one of the tools that you've jumped on to has been Cast Magic. So tell us how you're using that one.
See, that was a brilliant. So I love your podcast. So I was listening to one of your podcast episodes on Cast Magic. I was like, right, I've got to try this. Oh my gosh. So I've dabbled with a virtual assistant, which just it did work, it didn't work. And then I kept saying, right, I need to invest more time in getting that sorted. And then I was sort of let down a little bit. And I was having to spend a lot of time mopping up. And I know that working with VAs can be really helpful, but I also know it takes a lot of time to get it right.
Yes.
So yeah, and I found Cast Magic has just been like having a VA, but just without all of the snags. And it's been, and so I thought that investment, well, that's just gone straight into Cast Magic. Brilliant. So you can upload a transcript to the podcast, or you upload a podcast, it then transcribes it for you. And from that then comes out with all of the prompts, email, newsletter templates, which you can then tweak within the system for your tone, for your audience, and just modify it for things like threads, content. And it's just been so helpful.
Oh, I'm so glad you jumped on that one. And I will say, of all of the ones I've compared to some of the different AI tools, I think it's one of the best at really being accurate and pulling out the good stuff, as opposed to some of the other tools that'll give me a summary and I'm like, okay, that was not important. Why are you talking about that? Was not an important piece of the puzzle. But Cast Magic does better.
It does so much better. And I think what's really nice is it understands the platforms that it's creating the content for. So it will produce your content for LinkedIn, for Threads, and for your Reels. And actually, whilst I will never just copy and paste, it gives me such a great starting point rather than me going this blank canvas every time. I'm 50% there because I've got the framework and I can then change it to my tone, bits of pieces that it maybe is missed or misinterpreted, and then get it straight back out. So actually it's helped me be present much more on LinkedIn, which again has been like a massive on my to-do list. So loving Cast Magic.
Awesome. Well, and then you also mentioned Threads. So let's talk about Threads a little bit, because I went back to look. So it was July of 2023. So about a year ago when I jumped on Threads, and I was like, I wonder where this is going to go, because they were trying to not take over, but sort of be an alternative maybe to Twitter/X, all of that good stuff. And at the time I was like, I wonder if this is going to take off or not. And I've been really enjoying it, but tell me about your experience. What's it been like for you on Threads?
I found it really, and I've only used it probably in earnest for the last probably 6 weeks. But I really feel that this is where people need to be certainly focusing and looking at, because it takes so much of the FOMO away that you get from social media and Instagram. You don't, I think, because it's not visual, you're not looking at perfect, and you're not looking at people putting together choreography and text and everything. That for me, it's taken a real challenging dilemma of Instagram that I hate, and Facebook, of the pictorial side, and just giving you real content. And I think the algorithms at this moment are probably a lot more favorable for newcomers to build an audience really quickly.
Right? Yeah, they're trying to build it. So they're still in that
And
stage of
and
let's
it
share your
feels,
stuff.
yeah, and it feels like it connects you with the right people without worrying about hashtags.
Yes. And I think you can only use one hashtag anyway. So
Yep.
yay. We can all come up with one.
Yeah. The only bugbear that I still have is finding, and I've looked at this once and I've forgotten it because I do have a small brain, but finding out how you can see the
No,
replies.
you don't. Hold on. No, you do not.
Because this seems to change every time I do it. Isn't obvious it's in all of the comments related.
Oh, so I'm sorry, say that again. I was stuck on the where you part. You said you had a small brain. You do not. Erase that thought.
Forget things. But so when threads, you don't easily see the comments as much. And I think each phone is different, or whatever screen you're on is quite different at being able to see in chronological order the comments. So yeah, they need to make that easier. But other than that, it's brilliant. And I think you can find your tribe a lot better, and it's just yeah, a really exciting platform actually.
Yes, and you and I are both doing this technique of spending more time commenting on other people's posts than doing your own posts. Like, you need some, but I think that commenting, connecting on other people's posts when they have folks that you're interested in too, I think that's kind of a key piece of the puzzle. And I know you're doing that a lot, so good job on that.
And I think there's a lot of people out there fishing. So there's a lot of people who want podcast guests, I kind of feel at the moment, or about to start podcasts. But again, that might just be that it's dialed into an algorithm of mine. But there's a lot of stuff that I think you can it's quite easy to navigate where you want to stay away from and where you want to invest your time in.
Yeah. So that's been really fun. One last thing that I want to touch on, because it has been so much fun to work with you on this, is we were talking about like what are the essentials that you need, and putting it into a plan, especially over the summer and as you were pulling everything together. And I just love how well you have executed on it. So tell us a little bit about that and kind of how that's been either different or how you've worked through that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it has been a real game changer. And I think working with you has it gives you the accountability. And I think I'm really guilty of having these amazing ideas in my head, and again in that reduced time, I feel then guilty and overwhelmed when I don't actually do them. So then I have to get over that hurdle before I then do the next thing. And I understand what I need to be doing about interrogating the data, but it's having the capacity to do it when there is just you and you are the product as well. And I think sitting down with you and having worked with you quite a while, Julie, is you understand now what my audience is and how we can segregate that apart. And I think putting a plan together that works with me to kind of say, right, this is where we need to work backwards from. And understanding, right, what days am I going to do my podcast? What days am I going to do my email? And what's the main call to action? What's the main theme? And starting to link the email with the podcast to then just give me a real simple spreadsheet, which I drew in my black and white piece of paper because it helps me to put it into a paper form.
Sure.
But it just is understanding what works. And we had it there. We created it together. But then it meant that over the summer, particularly when time was really challenging for me, is when I did get an hour to work on a business, I could just open my book, see what I had to do, bang. And then I had, right, this is the theme that we're going to write an email about today. And then using the likes of Cast Magic is I'm 70% there. And so I don't then think, oh, well, I've got to start from the beginning and think about something and get into that whole visionary, right, where's my idea going to come from? It was just so much easier for me to pull out, right, this is what you got to do today. And at the bare minimum, this is what you got to do. One email today and it has to go out. And that was really, really helpful. And I know there was a lot in a plan that didn't happen, but actually in terms of the skeleton 100% happened. Whereas I think historically, it's the woulda, shoulda, coulda.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think especially sometimes females, but just perfectionists in general, we think if we put together a plan, well, then we got to do every single step of that plan or it's no good. And that's not true. Like, you can just pull out parts of it and you still are light years away from ahead of if you didn't have a plan at all. Right.
Yeah. And I think just having that not feeling like you're not delivering to it. Said, actually, I have done that. I have, this summer I've done my fortnightly podcast and I've sent out my email. And I think I've missed it once, 1 week, but to kind of go, yeah, do you know what? That's an achievement. That's an achievement.
Huge. And I remember you telling me, like, you recorded all your podcasts before the summer started. And that was also really smart of you, because then you didn't have to try to figure out, well, when am I going to record, how that's going to fit in? Right. Am I right on that? That is that.
Yeah, I can remember last year someone said, where did you record that podcast last week? It sounded like someone was unpacking the dishwasher at the same time. And I can remember I'd gone to like a quiet room of an industrial park, but it still sounded really noisy. And I lose access to my studio in the summer. So yeah, I ended up it was actually a really fun day of batching everything up, and just saying, right, okay, if I'm launching Transform Your Core in September, these are the topics that work really nicely running up to it. And so I then just created, all of those podcasts, literally, I think over the course of 2 days. And then I had, when I could see that I was running out of time, and this is quite interesting that I'm seeing more of this happening. I recorded like a walking podcast. So we did a how to engage your core in walking. So I actually went for a walk and just recorded it on my phone and did a total heads up. Yeah, the sound quality isn't going to be as good, but we're going to go for a 20-minute walk and I'm going to get you to understand how to engage your core as we're walking together. So I think it lets you be a bit more free as well and allows you to be creative for having that kind of structure.
Oh, that's so smart. I love it. And I'm so proud of everything you have accomplished this summer. It's been incredible. So thank you so much, Sarahjane, for being on the podcast and like giving us an update. It's so much fun to get to follow the process with you through the years and see how it's all coming together. I'm so excited about your 6-week program. Thank you for sharing the 50% off with us. And I will make sure that link is at the top, so y'all jump in on that program, because it's starting within the week or so, I think, right?
Yeah, it's starting. So we start on Monday, the 9th. But if you're listening to that week, I am going to keep our doors open until the end, so the 13th. So you can catch, if you can't watch us live. So I do the classes 10 a.m. London time, but everything, through Julie, I've set up everything so it sits on Kajabi, so you can access all of the classes in your own time. But still then feed in for help with me, via voice notes and all of the rest of it, which I offer hand in hand. So yeah, you can absolutely maintain access until the 13th of September, but we start officially on the 9th.
Awesome. So that's 2024. If you're listening to this later, click the link. I will try to keep it updated so you can jump in either the waitlist or find Sarahjane later if you're listening after that. But if not, make sure you jump in and work with her because she's incredible. She's so knowledgeable about this topic. So thank you, Sarahjane. I so appreciate you jumping in on the podcast this week and telling us about how things are going. And you have to come back. And we'll do this again, if you don't mind.
That would be amazing. Oh, it's so much fun. And it's been, I just think that looking back and seeing how far you've come and, migrating the business online through the courses and working with you has just been so helpful. And keeping it real as well. I think that's one thing that I find incredibly uplifting from yourself is there's so many content leaders that actually it's just stratospheric, whereas I think with you I always really resonate because you understand the nitty-gritty of the daily challenges, and it's keeping it real and in a whole perspective that we can really work with. So no, thank you.
Take care, and I will talk to you again soon. So as you can see, Sarahjane and I have been working together for a long time and helping her get her online business together and figuring out specifically where she should focus and figuring out techniques that fit with her style. So, she really is working around her children. So we needed to put systems in place that were going to fit with that. So if you're interested in something similar where you want some one-on-one attention, one-on-one answers that directly fit what you are working on and that work into your life and how you want to work together, and as she said, keeping it real, please contact me. You can go to the website at coursecreatorshq.com/contact and follow up with me. We can have a quick call and see if we're a good fit. If I think I can help you out, I would love to have you for one-on-one coaching, or keep your eyes open and stay on the email list so you can hear about the group coaching options if that's something you're interested in too. Would love to get to work with you. So have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Take care.